Happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to today's IG Live, Ask the Experts. Today, our expert is someone who I adore, MC McDonald, Dr. MaryCatherine McDonald. MC is a specialist in trauma, and she has written a new book that I know it's backwards. It's called The Joy Reset. And I'm sorry that it's backwards, but I wanted to show you the cover so you could recognize it when you want to buy it and listen and read the book. I had the joy of listening to MaryCatherine narrate this book, and I also have a paper copy that I can highlight and underline all of the gems that I learned this week through her. She's an absolute joy to talk to learn from, and she's an excellent storyteller and amazing writer. So we are going to have the next 30 minutes with this woman. And I hope that you are, if you're joining us, you're going to ask MaryCatherine your questions about joy, hope, grief, trauma, anything in between, about navigating these times that we're in this world. And what MC teaches us is that we can rewire our brains to have more joy in our lives, even amongst the darkest times that we are facing. And we're all going to be experiencing ups and downs in life. But how do we build more joy and hope and goodness into our lives? So here we go. There she is.
Hello. I'm setting myself up and dropping everything in the process. Hello, hello.
Thank you for being with us, MC.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so
Every
excited to
time
be
I hold
here.
up my book, it's
Oh,
backwards, but you can see it. The Joy Reset.
it's here. Yes. Yay.
Yay! And I thank you for joining us for these next 30 minutes.
Oh, of course.
We've already received some excellent questions from our
Oh,
community
great.
to ask you, and I'm going to ask any questions that come through on the chat as well. So,
Perfect.
are we ready?
We are ready. Let's go.
All right. I've been in survival mode for so long. How do I even begin to feel joy again?
Mm. This is such a good question. And it's central. This is something I talk about both in Unbroken and in the Joy Reset, which is that survival mode literally rewires our brain and nervous system. So it kind of shrinks the space available for joy. And I think the first step is in acknowledging that what you're experiencing is really real. And it's real not just in your experience, but also in your neurobiology. And then the second thing is to not force joy, but create the conditions where it can come visit.
Mm.
And I think that means practicing, safety first, especially with yourself. What feels safe to lean into when it comes to joyful experiences? That might be 30 seconds at a time, and that is totally okay. The practice Tiny Little Joys is sort of created just with you in mind, and the idea is just to notice sort of the soft, like flicker of joy instead of trying to be like, okay, now I am a joyful person, because you're right, you've been in survival mode, and so your nervous system is too.
Mhm. Every time something good happens, I get anxious, like it's about to be taken away. Why is that?
That, first of all, makes total sense. I totally relate. It's fear of loss. So in the Joy Reset, I talk about the joy thieves, and there are six of them, and fear of loss is one of them, and that's exactly what it does. It comes in and it tells you that the joy that you're just about to lean into is dangerous, because you're going to lose it just like you lost the other joys in your life. And so the better thing to do is to just forsake it or bring in something like anxiety, which counters joy. And again, that is an adaptation on behalf of your brain. Your brain and body are trying to keep you safe, but they're doing so in a misguided fashion. And so I think reminding your body that it's misguided, and that you understand that it's protecting you or trying to protect you, but that you don't need that right now, can be really helpful. I also think reframing and redefining joy is helpful. Joy isn't actually the
Yes.
opposite of safety. It's part of it. So when we practice joy and we start to see that joy is safety, that can help us build our tolerance for goodness, which can then sort of beat back the anxiety.
So what you said right there,
Yeah.
joy is safety.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, joy is what
That's
happens when your nervous system is feels safe enough to revel in something. We don't revel when we don't feel safe.
yes. Yes.
So
Oh, I've never heard it said like that.
so
That's
what can you revel in today? Maybe it's that you go outside of your office and stand in the sun for 2 minutes. Can you revel in that? That's giving your body a manageable dose of joy, and then you can work up to the higher, bigger joys and try to experience them without anxiety.
hmm And we talked about this on the podcast, but it's like the more you're doing that, the more you're giving yourselves an ability to revel.
Yeah.
You're imprinting your brain. You're
Yeah.
changing your brain chemistry. So,
Yes.
wow,
And then it
it
becomes
really,
easier to do it and to notice it, right? Like anything else, the more you do something, the easier it gets. So,
yes.
yeah.
Good. I've been told I'm too serious and
Mhm.
intense. How do I soften and let lightness in without feeling fake?
First of all, I want to like counter this because I want to say like, fuck that. You're not too
Yeah,
intense.
yeah. Like,
And but you're hearing from someone who has also gotten that as well, so it's perhaps that I'm projecting. Seriousness is not a flaw. I think it can be reframed as like a form of really
yes.
deep engagement, you know? It's a sign that you're connected. I think intensity is often directly from love and from vigilance and survival. And so I just kind of want to honor that piece of you, even though it's something that you're also wanting to experience the opposite. And I think, softening shouldn't mean abandoning who you are. So don't give up your seriousness or your intensity. I think your goal is to let joy sort of take a role in the driver's seat, even if it's really briefly. And I think one of the best ways to do this for you, especially if you're feeling like it's not who you are, is to borrow someone else's joy, right? And so there's an exercise in the Joy Reset called Freudenfreude field trip, where you just go
Mm.
outside and like put yourself in a place where there are other people and just give yourself the task of noticing their joy. How does it show up? Does it show up in their body? Does it show up in their language? Is it present in how they dress? What does that mean for you? Is there something you resonate with, especially in the way that joy shows up for other people? And then how could you fold that into your life and your being? I think like the first step is allowing ourselves to really witness that quality without this pressure to become it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, I just really appreciate that. It's so good, MC. It's like you don't
Mhm.
need to change. Like,
Yeah,
don't change yourself because somebody
right.
else is saying, "Oh, you're just too serious."
Right.
Well, yeah, there's a place for it's right. Just so
Yeah.
good.
And you're both. We contain multitudes, to quote Walt Whitman.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. How could we create space for joy in a world that feels so heavy? Well, yeah,
Hmm.
this is what we're talking about.
Hmm. The world is heavy right now. That is
Hmm
true. I think
hmm
it's not even just that it feels heavy, it is. And I think the key and something I discovered in the writing of this book was that we don't wait for the world to lighten, to lean into joy. We bring it. Joy is
Yes, bring the
not like a,
joy.
yeah, it's not a naive, fluffy luxury. It's a tactic, and it's a radical form of nervous system regulation. And when we regulate our own nervous systems, we're also contributing to the regulation of the collective nervous system. And so it's a really powerful thing. I think creating space for joy um, is a rebellious thing. It means integrating it into your nervous system alongside all of the grief and anger and rage, not to like replace them, but to sit next to them.
I completely agree in how important joy and hope, like all
Mhm.
this is, because we could all tell stories of how we were navigating the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's like we were all locked in our homes. And I remember just feeling, just this complete, we all, had just what now? What
Hmm.
next? And the
Right.
days and days and days, just like, Groundhog Day.
Relentless. Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I just looking at my children and just my life, and I'm going,
we need to find, we got to get out of here. We got to, like, what do
Yeah.
we do? Like, okay, then everybody's making sourdough. And then what are we doing next? Just, and
Right.
you're collectively looking for ways to somehow bring lightness to
Yeah.
this situation none of us can control.
Right.
But how important that was.
Mhm.
How
And
very, very
subversive.
integral.
Yeah. The people were making humor. That's a subversive tactic. It's a power. It's how to take the reins back when you don't have control over any other part of it.
But how very important that was
Yes, totally.
for our
Absolutely.
well-being.
Hmm.
I felt like it was a responsibility
Hmm.
to like bring lightness to this complete dark situation.
Hmm.
A very scary situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. It is a responsibility. And I think when we frame it up that way, then we don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My partner is really joyful and light, and I
Mhm.
find myself resenting that.
Okay.
How can I be more open to their energy without feeling like I'm faking it?
Okay. Two things here. One, resentment is really critical, right? Like this is a critical thing to notice in a relationship, and it's critical to notice it without judgment and criticism. So it's
Mm.
here. It's a sign of something. A lot of the time, it's a sign of some lack or deprivation. And so I think the first thing is to really like almost like think about taking the resentment, putting it out on a table and thinking and trying to like take it apart, dissect it. What's here?
Mm.
Is it that your partner is joyful and light? I mean, that's how it's showing up, but are they able to lean into that because they have more time to themselves than you do? Do they feel less pressured at work? Are they better with their boundaries with their friends? Like, could be anything. We don't know anything about the question, asker. But I would look into the resentment because I think it's really important. And then I think it's also important to see if there's something underneath the resentment that is coming from you. Do you feel like you're not worthy of joy outside of this relationship? Is this the first time this has come up? Because it could be that it's kind of pressing on a shame wound, and that's certainly
Mm.
worth kind of diving into if that's the case. So if it's that your partner is very joyful and doesn't have a feeling of shame, and shame is the joy thief that's getting in the way of your joy, then that's not about them, and it's worth trying to figure out how to unwind that in yourself. And then I think like you can almost, if it's just something that feels very foreign to you, again, going back to the kind of answer to the last question, you can borrow the person's joy. And in this case, I would almost like treat yourself like an alien. Like you've never experienced joy, your partner is experiencing joy, and you're super curious about it. Like, what is this thing? Where does it
Mm.
come from? How do you feel it? And try to just study it. Like, don't try to perform it or match it or mirror it or become like they are. Try to study it. What's in there that you're missing, and how could you learn about it instead of feeling like you have to fake it?
Oh, that's just great.
Thank you.
So good, MC.
Thank
I
you.
like the idea about taking your resentment and just like putting it on the
I
like
know, right?
taking the judgment out of it and like try to where what is this? Like what is really, really underneath?
Yeah. Because
Mm.
it's yeah, that's a sneaky relationship killer. So it's worth looking
Yes.
into.
It sure is. You know what it reminds me of? Glennon Doyle talks about when she and Abby were, and she may still
Yeah.
experience this, but she said like she resented the fact that like she would come home and Abby be like on the couch watching a show and just
Yeah.
relaxing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
What are you like? What are you doing? Like, I
Right.
can't do that. And like, she just
Right.
wasn't wired to just relax and
Right.
chill. And so that was in her to be like, I need to somehow figure this out so I can just take that time that I actually
Yes.
didn't think it could take
Right.
to
Or
just do
yeah,
nothing.
wasn't entitled to, or I don't know how to take it. Like, it's I
Yeah.
love that example.
So that's an example of like just
Mhm.
being able to be like, okay, this is where it's coming from.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I've built a good life, but I still feel disconnected from it. How
Mm.
do I start to actually feel it?
Yes, that's a
Mm.
great question. And I think a lot of us find ourselves in this situation at one point or another in our lives. And so I'm glad you asked because I think it's going to help you, but also other people who are in that same position. One of the most common joy thieves is emotional numbing. And there's a whole chapter on this in the Joy
Yeah.
Reset. And basically, the idea is that when we find ourselves in moments of overwhelm, we numb to survive. And there's nothing, not a damn thing wrong with that. That's how we get through the hardest times. The problem is we're not really good at selective numbing, and so we end up numbing everything. So it's possible that you're really overwhelmed or you've been overwhelmed. The task of building your good life was really stressful, and so you numbed in order to keep going and building, and now you're in this place where you feel disconnected. So number one, I think the fact that you're recognizing it and asking the question is huge because you're already two steps ahead. You're realizing that it's an issue.
Mhm.
Um, I think the next thing is to understand that the disconnection is a self-protective freeze response. It's not to be judged or gotten rid of. It's just there. And then I think start small and practice, like we could call it like re-presencing moments in your day-to-day life where you feel like you are going to intentionally lean into something deep in terms of emotion. So I think one of the best ways to do this is through music. Is there a song or an artist or something that you know is going to make you feel something, whether that's nostalgia, sadness, joy, elation, whatever? And then can you intentionally put that music on and like make a commitment to yourself that for the duration of that song, you're going to feel as much as you possibly can. And then when the song is over, you can go back to your life.
Excuse me. Wow.
And so you're like bringing yourself into the intense emotion, but you're bringing yourself back to the place of numb that you've gotten maybe used to and feel safe in. And if you can practice that with bigger things, maybe it's a movie, maybe it's a book, maybe it's something bigger in the world, you'll feel like you can handle it because you've been practicing the small stuff first.
So the disconnection is showing up as you're just not, you're not embodying, you're not in the
Yeah.
what you've
Present.
created
Hmm.
in the present.
Yeah.
Or,
And I,
excuse me.
I see that a lot. It happens with clients all the time. Well, they'll say like, this good thing happened. I'm like, I don't feel it. And that's a disturbing experience because you're like, cognitively, I know this is good and I should like it and feel good about it. And I don't. So what's happening? Um, and number one, what's happening is normal. And two, you can bring yourself back into emotional awareness. You just have to learn how to tolerate the feeling again. It's
Yeah.
almost like if you know when like a limb falls asleep, like you're sitting on your ankle or whatever, and you get up and your foot is totally asleep. There is that moment of like, I'm never going to feel my foot again. It's never going to return. But you
Yeah.
just have to keep going and the blood flow will go back to the area. It's the same thing with our emotions.
Mm. I used to be really joyful, but
Mhm.
life has worn me down. How do
Yeah.
I find that version of me again?
Mm. Time travel.
Time travel.
But I mean this literally. So, I think number one, you don't have to return to who you were. You can be who you are now with all the new experience and knowledge that you've gained, and you can build a new version. What we want to do is bring in any aspects from your old self that you feel like you've gotten disconnected from and you want to connect to. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to lean into nostalgia. So go back to the last time. You can actually do this through the course of your life. I do this sometimes in workshops where I have people do a joy timeline and we go through various developmental ages and think about like what gave you the most unbridled, ridiculous joy at that age. So at age 5, what were you more excited about than anything else? Dinosaurs, maybe, or like trucks? Like, what was it? And if you spend some time in these different slices of your life thinking about what brought you joy, number one, that activity is joyful. So you'll find yourself reconnecting to joy. And two, you will likely notice patterns that you can bring into your present life. And so
Mm.
sometimes when I do that exercise with people, someone will notice, like, okay, the first thing I was ever excited in life was trucks. Then I was excited in riding my bike. And then I was excited about and joyful about being able to drive. And then it's like, okay, these are things you can bring into your daily life and engage in joyful ways that are really simple. Give
Hmm.
yourself 15 minutes and go for a drive, put all the windows down and blast your favorite music.
Yeah,
Again, that sounds really simple, but I think that that's joy is simple. And it's
exactly. I think we're
right.
complicating it and we
Yeah.
are confused about
Yeah.
what joy can mean. It's like so many things. It's like that's just what you practice of tiny little joys. It's like
Yes.
little things, right?
Yes, exactly. Over and over again, then it just brings joy back into your life. Totally.
Yes. So beyond the next, if you're going to ask the next question, but first, can you just
Mhm.
quickly, MC, tell us about tiny little joys? Like how,
Yes.
what are those little things? Like how do people start bringing in like the tiny
Mhm.
little joy practice so that we can
Yes.
rebuild our brains to look for joy and create more of it?
Yes. Yes. So we have, by nature, we have an automatic negativity bias in the brain. So we automatically notice bad stuff, fearful stuff, dangerous stuff. We know this because if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't usually spend the next 2 hours thinking about like all the good things in your life. You think about the time you dropped your lunch in the fourth grade in the cafeteria and all of these different things that have happened that are awful and currently vexing you. And so that's completely fine. We've evolved that way on purpose. We need to notice the bad stuff. What that then means though is that if we don't manually imprint the good stuff, we get a really one-sided view of how the world works and what our place in it is. And so if we can manually imprint tiny little joys every single day, we actually kind of repopulate the joy side of our brain, reestablish those neural connections, which then make joy easier to engage with and see, and kind of rewire the whole brain and the nervous system. And so Tiny Little Joys is like a really simple practice that I built on these neurobiology, facts. And all you do is 1 or 3 times a day, notice something in your environment that gives you a tiny bit of joy. We could do it right now, Robin. Do you want to?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Is there anything in your environment that gives you a little blast of joy?
Yes, I have. And I love the fact you could surround yourself with your joy, right?
Yes.
So in my office on the left, I've
Mm-hmm.
got a wall of photos of
Oh,
memories and
nice.
people I love. And
Oh.
so, and like cards my kids have made me and
Mhm.
on a post, like, so when I look over, I can see and I just instantly, I just feel love and I feel
Oh,
joy.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. So if you can sink into
What
that
if,
feeling for like 7 or 10 seconds, that
mhm.
amount of attention is enough to start paving a neural pathway towards positive.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
What about you?
Oh, okay. Tiny little joy for me. I have this. Can I show it to you or do I do it this way? People always are like, what are you looking at? I have a huge giant window
Oh yeah,
and it's gorgeous outside. I don't know if
it
you
is
guys get to
beautiful.
look at that. But that is my tiny little joy is just being able to stand in front of this window every day and marvel in the place that I
And the
live.
beauty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I really think how I surround myself with beauty,
Hmm.
and it's not about material. It's just
Yeah.
like the beautiful little things, you
Mhm.
know. I just think when you surround your surroundings and keep everything just, you know, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel joy. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And if you just like, you'll notice as you practice it that like, even if you do that for 10 seconds, you'll see a shift. And I did a
Mhm.
workshop yesterday and I did it with everybody as a group. And then a couple people kind of explained what their tiny little joy was. And even as they were explaining it, you could literally see their bodies like relax, exhale,
Yes.
like someone was talking about like photos of their niece that they got texted to them and they just made this like, oh, like this cute face, like they were looking at the pictures again. When we revisit things in our memory, our bodies take note, and that's really important.
Yes. How do I let go of the constant? Well, I guess we talked about this already, but what if it all falls apart feeling?
Yeah. I
Like that's
mean,
like hypervigilance,
yeah.
right? Is that well, and and right? Just like intense
Yeah.
fear of
Hmm.
like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that can be. There's three joy thieves that at least that could be present in, and it's the hypervigilance, fear conditioning, which is when bad things happen after good things, so you get the association that good things only happen when there's a bad thing around the corner. And then fear of loss, which is what we talked
Mm.
about before with the person who was saying, like, I just get so anxious whenever anything good happens. And I think, again, like, this is like a humbling thing about being human. We brace ourselves um, for the moment when things fall apart because we think that's going to help.
And
And
it's not.
it's not. It doesn't.
Right. It doesn't, but it's so natural.
It's so natural. Oh my God. And I'm the worst when it comes to that. Um, and it's really hard. I think again, this practice of being present, even if it's only for 10 seconds, like can you acknowledge that you're bracing for it to fall apart and then just say, okay, I'm going to picture taking that bracing feeling and putting it in a box and putting that box over here for a second, and I'm just going to exist with the goodness for a half an hour. What would that be like? And then I can pick up the box of fear and go back into it, because I think like bringing ourselves into those moments is the only way to like under for our nervous systems to understand how to tolerate the good. This is the trick.
Mm.
Like we think the only work is in learning how to tolerate the trauma. We also have to then learn how to tolerate the good.
Oh, yes. Yes. A lot of us can't tolerate the good.
Yeah,
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
I know. And that's heartbreaking because we're missing out.
My friendships used to bring me so much joy, but lately I just feel drained. How do I reconnect without pretending I'm okay when I'm not?
Oh boy. That's a great question. It's huge. I think we've all been there. You're making
Yeah,
this face like you're like, I get this.
it's hard. That's a hard one.
It's hard. And I think, it sounds like maybe you're dealing with burnout or something tough is going on. There's some tough circumstances you're trying to live through, and your social circle is typically positive. So, I mean, the first thing is give yourself some time and some grace. Like if you're feeling like you need to be alone a little more now, that's okay. And I think
Hmm.
the people in your life who get it will get it. And the people who don't, they might have their feelings hurt, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I
And it
think,
could be, right, you have to
yeah,
share with maybe
yeah,
if you feel like opening up and saying, this is where I'm at,
yeah, yeah.
your friends will be hopefully there for you.
Yes, totally. Yep, that's exactly it. Like, is there anyone in the group that you feel like you can say, like, God, I'm just not feeling it lately? Because what you might find is that they are also feeling the same way, and having a conversation about it and connecting about it might be energizing. The other
Mm.
thing is, like, I would notice, is there anyone in your life who isn't draining? And then it's like, okay, so then maybe it's about who you're spending time with instead of purely what's going on with you. Does that make sense?
Right. And like, and on the flip side of that, which is what you're saying as well, MC, right? Is like
Mhm.
if you are with somebody that is draining,
Yeah, right.
that may
Yes,
not be like, the
right,
best person to be hanging around with all the
right.
time.
Yep, totally.
Right.
Yep.
Why does it feel like I have to earn joy or rest?
Mm,
Wow. It's
right.
almost like we're programmed to think like this. Go,
Yeah,
go, go. It's in our society that it's like somehow we're not allowed to rest or
yep,
take a nap or
yep.
right?
Yeah, we don't value rest. We don't value joy. We value productivity, we value sacrifice, we value rigor. Like none of these things are they're completely in the opposite camp to rest and joy and pause and all of this stuff. And I think it's important to understand that the way that we live is the way that our nervous systems become programmed. So if you're under chronic stress, if you're operating under a belief that rest is not okay, that you have to earn it in order for it to be, something you can indulge, then your nervous system is listening to that. And that means every time you try to lean into it, your nervous system is going to have a response, right? It's almost like you're testing the waters, and your nervous system is going to say, no, 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 we've learned from experience that this is not what we do. This is not for us. And so again, this is why all of the practices in the joy reset and the ones that I talk about are small, because they're designed to get to like rehabilitate the nervous system to joy and rest, instead of just sometimes I think we get stuck in our minds and we say, like, okay, if I just have the right belief system around joy, then my body will change. You need both. You need the right belief
Yeah.
system, but then you also need the practice of giving your body rest and seeing that it's okay. So I would suggest like giving yourself 5 minutes to rest, and then really intentionally imprinting that nothing bad happened.
Yes. But the opposite, right? You're gonna feel so, I hope, like feel so
Yes.
much better.
Yes, totally.
You're giving
Exactly.
yourself so much just by
Right.
those 5 minutes.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, thank you, MC. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for joining us today and talking about joy and how we can rewire
Yes.
our brains in yeah, and how important that is. I'm holding up your book again. I know it's
Oh, yay.
backwards. I'm
Thank you.
sorry, but it was fantastic, and I
Oh,
got
thank
so much
you.
out of it, and I hope everybody reads it.
Oh, thank you
And
so much. I'm really glad that you liked it. Yay.
yeah, thank you, and I hope everybody enjoys your day and
Thank
bring
you.
more joy, create more joy.
Yes. Go imprint a tiny little joy right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.